So around the same time when I ordered this Cami long coat, I also ordered a new guitar controller. And this is an Etsy experience was like completely opposite to that long coat story. The product looks exactly like in the image, it works perfectly, there's nothing to complain about this. Although I had some personal issues with this, which were the buttons being way too high for me. The issue that I had with the original buttons was that my fingers got stuck between the buttons all the time. And it felt pretty uncomfortable, it made the playing kind of difficult. So I mentioned that and it immediately started the conversation of should I get lower buttons or what should I do with this? And then I said you could probably take at least half of the height off. The original height was like 3 millimeters, so I said you could probably lower it down to 1.5, 1.3 maybe. And then the seller was immediately like, well, the 1.3 might be a little too low. It could cause the problem of the switches activating too early or being activated all the time. But when I checked the activation point, which is pretty much right at the bottom, I said it's probably not gonna be any problem at all. Like 1.5 millimeters is probably perfect height, but for shits and giggles I also wanna try 1.3 just to see what happens. So I asked him to send 3 variations for heights, 1.3, 1.5 and 1.7, and he was also like, yeah, whatever, it's your guitar, man, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. Yeah, sure, of course I will, I want that. I will pay you for it. And I paid. And then I got 3 extra sets of buttons. And when they arrived, I started the most suspicious one, which was 1.3. I also didn't think that they would work at all. But to my surprise, they are just fucking perfect. So I have not even tried any other buttons on this. The 1.3s are still there, and if I'm completely honest, they could probably go even ever so slightly lower. I said to seller that I almost want to try what happens if I put them all the way down to 1. But it's just a fun thought though. They didn't get rid of the problem completely though. Like my fingers still do get stuck occasionally a little bit, but it's so manageable at this point that it's not really that big of a deal at all. I've been playing with this controller and with these specific buttons last couple days, and there has been no issues whatsoever. The couple modifications that I did to this controller myself were, for one, I removed the fret strings around the buttons, these little plastic lines, because when they were still on and I moved my fingers really fast across the board, my fingers started to hurt like fuck. It was like scraping my fingers on a fucking cheese grater. It was very uncomfortable, so I made the decision to get them out completely. It didn't make the finger stock problem any worse, but it made the play feel a bit more comfortable because my fingers doesn't hurt anymore, so I'm happy with that decision. And the other modification I did was I removed whammy bar and a start button. I'm playing on the left, so whammy bar is just in the way all the time. And the start button because when I activate the star power, which is the other button, I kept hitting both star power and the start button at the same time all the time, so that like made the menu pop up. And then also when you press those 2 buttons down at the same time, it opens up Xbox game bar. And at that point all sorts of shit can happen, because while I'm in the motion of pressing buttons really fast and then I activate the Xbox game bar while I'm in the motion of pressing those buttons, it can do probably whatever before I manage to stop myself from pressing any more buttons. So it made it slightly bit more inconvenient now, because now I need to press the start button by pressing the enter key on the keyboard, but it's not that big of a deal. But other than that, this controller is great. It works really well and the playing is just the most effortless playing what I've ever played in any controller ever. The only real downside of this thing is that it's expensive. No one makes modified guitar controllers for cheap at all. It was like 150, 160-ish euros, and then shipping for something 60, 70, and then because it was coming to me outside of Europe, I had to pay taxes, which was like another 70-ish euros, so I ended up paying almost 300 euros for this piece of shit. But in the end, regardless of it making a gigantic dent in my wallet, I'm still happy with this purchase. I've been playing this almost every day for the last couple months, and it has not failed me down one time. So the way these are modified most of the time, these are mechanical switches, the buttons, and then the board underneath the strum bar is Arduino board. It apparently keeps this controller very low latency, something like 1 millisecond or something. Great for very fast maps and complex things where you need to be very accurate with the controller. So the guy I got this from on Etsy is called Cream's Mod Shop, and this is not paid advertisement or anything. I honestly think this is great, and the customer service was also great. So I fully recommend getting guitar controller from that guy if you're looking for a great controller and you have a couple hundred extra euros / dollars, something like that, laying around. There are probably some other great modders out there as well, but since this is my very first modded controller and I haven't got it from Grim's Mod Shop, I am recommending Grim's Mod Shop. So yeah, very positive edgy experience, unlike that scammy leather coat. It's called Leather Fantics. Don't buy anything from that guy. Go buy from Grim's Mod Shop instead. Yep. That's it.